Hola, ¿cómo están? Bienvenidos Centroamérica, Suramérica, bienvenidos a este sábado saludable. Me presento, mi nombre es Carlos Monroy, soy colombiano, vivo en este momento en Bogotá, estoy transmitiendo desde mi casa y la verdad, hoy sábado es increíble. Tenemos una invitada de lujo, una eminencia a nivel mundial en el campo del bienestar y la salud. Y bueno, les comento un poco. Comencé en Herbalife hace 16 años y algo que me llamó muchísimo la atención fue el respaldo que tenía detrás de lo que me estaba metiendo. Que era una compañía en su momento que tenía más de 30 años en el mercado, estaba en más de 80 países, tenía un staff médico y científico increíble y así fui empezando, terminé renunciando a lo que hacía anteriormente para dedicarme 100% a Herbalife y bueno, después les contaré mi historia más completa porque no quiero quitarle ni un minuto a nuestra invitada. Ella es una PhD en actividad física y nutrición y bienestar. Tiene también un MBA en su currículo y también es muy deportista. Hizo parte del equipo de la Universidad de Washington en remo y tiene todas las credenciales para que nos explique lo del tema que tenemos para el preparado el día de hoy. Así que no le quito mucho tiempo. Denme una calurosa bienvenida a nuestra invitada, Dana Ryan. Dana, bienvenida.
Gracias, Carlos. Buenos días a todos. Es un placer estar aquí con ustedes. Lo siento, mi español no es tan bueno, pero los prometo que voy a practicar mucho y en el próxima vez voy a hablar totalmente en español. Pero English for today. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen real quick. All right. So today I have the honor and privilege of being able to talk to you about sports nutrition, nutrition for living a healthy, active lifestyle, and we'll get into exactly what that means and who that really relates to. But it's really important to start off with all of the faces that you see on this screen, which is our experts, not only here in Los Angeles, but from around the world. And our job is to make sure that everything that we talk about, everything that we suggest is based in science, right? And so it seems like it's obvious, but it's really important that we're always on top of the literature. Things are always changing. The field of nutrition, the field of exercise science, these things are always changing. And so our job is to stay on top of the current research, the current literature, so that everything that we recommend is always going to be based in science. And one of the reasons that that is so incredibly important is that we have a problem around the world. And that is the rates of our populations per country that are overweight or obese. So you can see on this slide all of the different countries, and the darker the color, the closer towards red, the higher the percent of the population that's overweight or obese, right? The United States typically is number one in this, which is not something that we are proud of. But the reality is the rest of the world is catching up, right? And so when we look at these percents of people that are overweight and obese, it can be depressing to look at, right? But it also represents a huge opportunity, right? It represents an opportunity because people are interested in changing their lifestyle. People are interested in improving their own well-being. And we know that, and we see that, over the years, people have become more interested in their overall well-being. How can they move their body? How can they put the right foods in their body? And so it's a huge opportunity to help impact this map, right? And make positive change in our society. And so if we're going to do that, if we're going to have a positive effect, we have to have a bit of a roadmap. We have to have a bit of a plan as to how we're going to do that. And something that you'll hear me say over the next, 30 to 40 minutes is that this idea of balance, right? How do we balance the right foods into our body with how we move our body? And then how do we do it in a way that makes sense for each person, right? How do we do it in a way that makes sense for the lifestyle that you're living, right? Because one size fits all isn't necessarily going to be the right approach. Maybe you like running, or maybe you like cycling, or whatever it may be. How do we create balance in somebody's life that's going to help them get the right nutrition into their body and help them move their body in a way that fits the lifestyle that they're living? But it's not just balance between what you put into your body and how you're exercising. It's also balance within nutrition, right? And so I know there's a lot of things that we hear, and there's a lot of things that you can, read online or whatever that may say you should eliminate this food group or eliminate that. But, that's not what the science backs up. The science is going to back up balanced nutrition, right? I know there's a lot of numbers on the screen. I know it looks kind of complicated, but what this is really representing is balance. Making sure that every meal that you have has good quality carbohydrates, has good quality protein, healthy fats. And these are some of the things that we'll talk about over the next couple slides. But what I want you to take away from this is this idea of balance, right? Our body needs carbohydrates, we need protein, we need fat. It's just a matter of figuring out what are good options for each one of those, and then how do we balance that with how we're moving our body. So if we're going to do that, let's take a step back and talk about exactly what a protein is. This is something that we hear people talk about a lot. You have to have protein, you have to have protein, but sometimes we might not necessarily know what exactly a protein is. And the way I like to think about a protein is kind of like a puzzle, right? And so a puzzle is made up of a lot of different pieces, right? You might have pieces that you put them together and you end up with a picture of an ocean, right? Or you put them together and you have a picture of a mountain. But every puzzle in reality is just a combination of different pieces put together in a different way so that you end up with a total product, right? And the protein is the same way, okay? Those puzzle pieces we call amino acids. So every protein is just a combination of those puzzle pieces, the combination of those amino acids put together in different ways so that you end up with a different type of protein, right? So you might have some amino acids put together and you get a dairy protein, or you have a different combination of those puzzle pieces and you get a soy protein. But all proteins are just these puzzle pieces put together. And then when you consume a protein, when you eat that piece of fish, or when you have that soy, it gets broken back down in your body into those amino acids. And so that's kind of how I like to think of a protein. And we have 21 of those puzzle pieces. We have 21 of those amino acids. And, we could talk forever. We could go, step by each one. But what I want you to remember out of those 21 is that there are 9 that we consider to be essential amino acids. And what that means is that those amino acids you have to get through food, right? Your body cannot make them. So you have to consume them on a daily basis to make sure that your body's getting what it needs, right? And if a protein has all 9, it's what we call a complete protein, okay? So things like animal-based proteins, these are a complete protein. But most plant-based proteins aren't actually complete, right? They're missing 1 or 2 of those essential amino acids, so we can't call them complete. However, there is one plant that has all 9 of those essential amino acids, and that's soy, right? And so just kind of keep that concept of essential amino acids in your head as we go through this presentation, because it's going to come back in 20 minutes or so, and you'll understand kind of why we're talking about it now. But again, protein, it's like a puzzle made of a bunch of these pieces. Those pieces are called amino acids, 21 of them, 9 of which are considered to be essential. Now, it's not just about having the right protein, it's also about when you want to consume that protein. And we know, oftentimes people tend to have like a lot of protein at night for dinner, maybe they have a lot in the morning, but what you really want is actually to consume protein throughout the day, right? Because those puzzle pieces that we talked about, those amino acids, our body doesn't store them, but we're constantly needing them and using them. And so it's really important that you have protein throughout the day so that you're continuing to support your body as you're putting stress on your body, as you're moving throughout the day, you're giving your body those amino acids that it needs. So not just about the right type of protein, but it's also about having that protein throughout the day so that you can help build muscle mass and you can really support your body. Now, you might say, okay, she just said build muscle mass, and I don't really care. That's not my goal. Building muscle mass is not my goal. I'm not trying to go to the gym and get big, bulky muscles. But I want to challenge that notion a little bit and talk about why building muscle is really important for anybody, no matter what your goal is, right? And so we can start with the obvious, right? So a lot of times this is the image that we see projected when we talk about building muscle, we talk about sports nutrition, is that young girl or guy that is going to the gym, they want to get big muscles to, you know, look good or go to the beach or whatever it may be. And this is certainly an important role in protein, is building muscle for those reasons. However, it's not the only reason that we need protein to build muscle, right? Protein and building muscle is also a really, really important part of maintaining a healthy weight, right? And so, you know, a lot of times people will tell me like, you know, I'm really working on maintaining my weight. And so I think that when I exercise, I'm just not going to eat afterwards because that's going to be the best thing to help me maintain my weight. And it may seem, you know, kind of counterintuitive, but you actually want to have protein after you exercise to help maintain weight. And the reason for that is that when you have protein after you work out, this is going to help you build lean muscle. When you build lean muscle, that's going to help you increase your metabolism. Now, when you increase your metabolism, your body is more effective at burning calories. And so even if your goal isn't to build big, bulky muscles, it's just to maintain weight, protein is a really important part of that so that we can help maintain our metabolism. Okay, so maybe you want to go to the gym, build muscle, perfect. Trying to maintain a healthy weight, perfect. But having protein and building muscle is really, really important as we get older, right? And so if we think about protein and how our body uses it, actually, as we get older, our body's not as effective at utilizing protein. So it's really important that we continue to maintain an adequate intake of protein as we get older so that we can maintain our muscle mass, right? We know that as we get older, one of the facts of life is that if we don't do anything about it, we begin to lose muscle mass. You know, and that can start in late 30s, 40s, we can start losing muscle mass. And so really, really important that we consume enough protein to help support our body in that muscle making process. You know, because if you're younger and you're thinking like, oh, that's not me, I'm 20, I don't have to worry about it. Just start thinking about all the things that you use strength for that maybe you take for granted. You know, whether it's walking or even sitting up, these things require leg strength, they require core strength. And so maintaining adequate muscle mass is going to be really important for everybody. Okay, so whether you want a six-pack and big biceps, whether you're trying to maintain a healthy weight, you know, whether you're thinking about, you know, aging gracefully, every group of people, it's really going to be important to build muscle mass. Regardless of what your goal is, regardless of what your objective is, building muscle is going to be really, really important. But protein can't do it all on its own. We've got to have good quality carbohydrates also. And, you know, these days it's kind of easy to talk about protein because everybody's on board with protein. But carbohydrates, not everyone's a fan of carbohydrates. You probably hear it a lot, like, oh, carbohydrates are bad or this or that, or you should eliminate all the carbohydrates. And the reality is that your body needs carbohydrates, right? There's a lot of great benefits from having the right high quality carbohydrates. So everything that you see on the screen, fruits, vegetables, whole grains, these things are going to be good quality carbohydrates. And we'll talk about when you're active, why that becomes even more important. But just remember, carbohydrates play a very, very important role, and eliminating them is never going to be the way to go, right? So making sure we go back to that idea of balance. So good quality protein, good quality carbohydrates, and then balancing it with exercise, right? So you're looking at this slide, you're like, I don't know, what does this mean? And this is, not a lot of people like this slide, but it's just the reality of why we have to make sure that we keep everything in balance. Is if you look at the meal on the slide, which is a common meal that people have often, to burn the amount of calories from that meal, it's going to take about 2 hours worth of running. Okay. I don't know about you guys. I'm not a runner. It is not my favorite form of exercise. I do not want to have to run for 2 hours just to undo what I ate, right? I want to make sure that I'm putting the right nutrients into my body to help fuel that exercise that I'm going to do, right? Because we all lead incredibly busy lives. And so we're dedicating time to exercise. We want to make sure that we're getting the most out of that workout, right? And really, that's kind of the basis of sports nutrition, which is putting the right nutrients in your body, the right time, and eating with a purpose, right? So putting those good quality nutrients in your body. You know, oftentimes people think, oh, sports nutrition is this like really overly complicated thing that doesn't apply to me. But the reality is that sports nutrition is just grounded in the principles of good quality nutrition. And it's about timing. How do we put the right nutrients in our body at the right time? But before we kind of get into the details of sports nutrition, I want to talk about the word athlete. You know, because doing these trainings and having these conversations, you know, a lot of times people will say like, well, I'm not an athlete. Sports nutrition doesn't apply to me. I'm not good at what I do. I'm not playing on TV. I'm not an Olympian. I'm not whatever. So sports nutrition doesn't apply to me. And honestly, nothing could be further from the truth, right? I think oftentimes we don't give ourselves enough credit for the work that we do. We don't give ourselves enough credit for that athlete that really is inside all of us, right? Because it doesn't matter if you're not the fastest person out there, if you're not the strongest person out there, it doesn't matter. What matters is that you're moving your body. You're getting your heart rate up and you're sweating. And you don't have to do what your best friend loves to do. You don't have to do with your husband, wife, your boyfriend, whoever loves to do. You've got to find whatever that is that you love to do and do it as often as possible, because there's no right or wrong when it comes to exercise. It's about getting the heart rate up. It's about sweating. It's about pushing your body. And when you do that, it's really important to fuel yourself like the athlete you are. So let me give you a couple examples just to kind of further touch on that point. Is, you know, like I said, sometimes we don't give ourselves enough credit for what we're doing, right? You may go for a walk for 30 minutes. You're going to burn about 250 calories. This is going to vary depending on how big or how small you are, how fast you're walking. But on average, you're going to burn about 250-ish calories. But things that we don't consider exercise also can be hard on the body, right? So if you're going out and you're gardening and you're, you know, getting your heart rate up, if you're doing all of these things, you're outside, you're in the sun, you're raking, you're moving all around, you're still burning calories, right? Still burning calories. Yoga, great form of exercise. You know, one of my favorites. You're going to burn about 300-ish calories depending on the type of yoga. But if you're out running around with your kids, you're going to burn a lot of calories also. You know, and I think one of the groups of people I hear the most from is new moms. And they say, you know what, I don't have time to go to the gym. I have, you know, young kids, I'm chasing after them. And it's like, don't discredit that, right? This is like for one kid, if you're running around chasing 2 or 3 kids, that's a lot of effort. That's a lot of energy. Carrying them up and down the stairs, that's like carrying a weight up and down the stairs. So don't discredit the work that you're doing on a daily basis just because you can't go to the gym. So you're still doing a lot for your body, right? A couple more examples. playing basketball, great form of exercise, but maybe you like to dance, right? Just because something's fun doesn't mean it's not exercise. It doesn't mean that you're not pushing your body. It doesn't mean you're not getting your heart rate up, right? So find those little things. Maybe it's dancing, maybe it's swimming, maybe it's hiking, whatever it may be for you. Just find what you're passionate about and do it as often as possible, right? And when you do that and when you find it, you'll find that athlete that I know lives inside all of you guys, right? Sometimes it's just a matter of looking for it. Because once you find it, no matter how good you are at a sport, no matter what level of athlete you are, it's going to be really important to fuel your body properly, right? Because again, even if you're not the fastest one out there running, your body still needs the same nutrients. It still needs carbohydrates for fuel. Still is going to need protein to help you recover. And the more you can start making those little changes and thinking of yourself like an athlete, it's really going to be helpful for those workouts that you're doing. So hopefully by now I've convinced you that there is an athlete that's inside of all of us. Sometimes it's a matter of just finding it. So now that we know that, let's talk about what your day looks like an athlete, right? And again, no matter who you are, no matter what level athlete you are, it's always going to start with a good quality breakfast, right? This breakfast might seem like a lot for you, but for someone that's active, you're going to want to make sure you have protein. You got that in the eggs. You've got, sweet potatoes, good quality carbohydrates, healthy fats from the avocado. Starting your day with a good quality breakfast is going to be very, very important to set your day off on the right foot, right? Your breakfast can also certainly include Formula One, right? This is going to be good quality protein, soy protein. So remember what we said about those amino acids and soy protein being a complete protein. This is going to be a really good way to add protein, add some of those micronutrients, vitamins and minerals that your body really needs when you're active. So definitely a great addition. Lots of different flavors. I know in various countries we have different flavors. So just make sure whoever invited you to this call, chat with them to see what flavors you have in your country, but a variety of flavors so that each morning you can mix it up so it never gets boring, really change up the flavors. It's a really great way to start your day. So again, no matter the type of athlete you are, got to make sure you're starting that day with a good quality breakfast, okay? But past that, we also have goals that our body is trying to achieve before, during, and after exercise. And the way that we achieve those things are not only physically warming up our body. So, when you start an exercise, you don't just go from 0 to 100 right away, but you want to give your body some time to warm up. We can also help our body with giving ourselves the right nutrients before we work out. And one of the options that we have is energy. So energy has caffeine, right? And caffeine is really great because caffeine can help us with our mental focus, right? Typically 15 to 30 minutes or so before you exercise is a good time to have some caffeine, gives it a little time to kick in, but it helps you with that focus. And you might think like, who cares? Right? Why do I need to be focused before I exercise? And, think about your day. Oftentimes we're doing a million things. Our mind is in a million places and we don't have a lot of time to exercise. And so just having something like caffeine really helps us focus and get ready for that workout. So super good option. One of the things that we talk about with all of our professional athletes, because I have the privilege of working with our sponsored athletes around the world, is this notion that your exercise and your nutrition are never going to be separate, right? And so thinking about your workout starting with your pre-workout drink, right? So rather than your workout starting when you get to the gym, think about your workout starting when you have your pre-workout drink, right? When you have that caffeine before you get into that workout, that's when it starts. And then your workout is not finished until you have a post-workout shake. And just kind of creating that habit is a really good way to help you with the fundamentals of sports nutrition, which is putting the right nutrients in your body at the right time, okay? So you've gotten ready, you've had your energy, maybe 15, 30 minutes before you work out. You've also got to now fuel yourself during exercise, right? So there's a lot of things that are happening to your body while you're exercising and while you're training, and we want to support all of those processes so we can continue to exercise at a high level. And this is where carbohydrates become really important, okay? So the blue line that you see on the screen, this represents how much your body is using carbohydrates for energy. And on the bottom where it says VO2 max, that's the intensity of the workout, right? And so you can see as the intensity gets higher, as it gets closer to 100, our body starts using more and more and more of carbohydrates. And so it's very, very important that we have adequate carbohydrate stores so that we're able to access those during exercise and utilize them to produce energy, okay? So carbohydrates during exercise is gonna be one component that's super important. But the second component is gonna be hydration. And you might be thinking, okay, well, none of those things on the screen make sense for hydration during exercise. And you're right. You're right. I would not drink any of these during exercise, but I bring them up to talk about the importance of hydration, because hydration is not just important while we're training, but hydration is important throughout the entire day. And it's something that we can easily get wrong, right? And so a lot of times people will say to me, hey, Dana, like I'm eating the things that you were suggesting, but I'm just not where I want to be, right? And so oftentimes I'll say, okay, well, what are you drinking? Right? And an answer can be something that looks exactly like what you have on this screen, maybe a sugary coffee drink and some sort of soda during the day, and then a beer, a glass of wine at night. And the reality is this can add up to a lot of excess calories, right? This adds up to a lot of excess calories that's not necessarily doing a lot for your hydration status during the day, right? If we look at it compared to food, sometimes this gives you a better idea of really what this looks like, right? That sugary coffee drink to French fries, beer to bacon, kind of puts it into perspective, because sometimes as we're drinking fluids, we don't really think, like, oh, this is a ton of excess calories, right? Same thing with the soda, a glass of orange juice as well can be quite a bit. So just kind of being conscious of that, because being hydrated and maintaining hydration is super, super important, right? Something that a lot of the research has shown us that we talk about in the field of sports nutrition a lot is that even being dehydrated 1% to 2% can impact your performance. And so staying on top of your hydration is really, really important, because by the time you're thirsty, you're actually already a little bit dehydrated. And so it's something that you don't want to think about just around the exercise. You don't want to think about just in the morning, but rather it's something that you want to think about throughout the day. And for me, if I'm being honest, I'm not good at drinking water throughout the day. I forget, I'm doing a million things. And so I always have a water bottle nearby, because it's a visual reminder to drink something, And so if you struggle with drinking water, I would suggest having a water bottle nearby just as a visual reminder. But it's really, really important for our performance and for our body as a whole, right? But I also know that drinking water can get boring, right? And so there's certain things you can do to change the flavor of water without adding a ton of excess calories, right? So aloe can be a great option for that. A few different flavors of aloe. Again, just chat with the person that invited you to the call to see what exactly is available in your country. But aloe, again, is going to be a great way. Add it to your water. That's going to really help you to change up the flavor of water. Same thing with tea. Again, putting it, adding it with water. This can really help you with hydration. Okay. So again, several different options. But the most important thing is that you're really drinking something throughout the day that's going to help maintain that hydration, because as someone that's an athlete, as someone that's active, staying hydrated is going to be really important for your performance. Okay. And performance is another one of those words where people are like, I don't care. I'm not trying to win something. I just want to move my body. Right. But when I'm talking about performance, I'm talking about what's personal to you. So that may be running a block farther. That may be cycling another kilometer. It may be lifting extra weight, right? So whatever is personal to you, that's the performance that we're talking about. right? And when we look at the impact that hydration can have, if you see on this graph, the white bar is someone that's dehydrated and the black bar is someone that's hydrated. And what you can see is that lap after lap after lap, the person that's dehydrated gets slower and slower and slower, right? It's taking them more and more and more minutes to run, right? And so having adequate levels of hydration are going to be really important for maintaining that performance, right? So now if we think, okay, everything that we talked about is going to be based in science, you'll start to understand where some of the ingredients in CR7 Drive come from, right? Carbohydrates, we said, is really important for energy and fueling yourself, and then staying hydrated is also going to be really, really important. So CR7 Drive is going to be a combination of carbohydrates as well as electrolytes that are going to keep you hydrated, right? So it's a good combination of ingredients, right? You can use it before, you can use it during, or you can use it after training as well. So I really like to use it during training. If I'm doing a morning workout, I like to use it beforehand because it's going to give me some of those carbohydrates to really kind of get me going. But it's going to be a great option, again, no matter the level of athlete that you are, right? Because the thing that's great about it is that you can really kind of use it depending on the type of exercise that you're doing, right? If you're doing yoga or you're going for a walk, you're going to be burning 200, 300 calories. You know, you don't need more than a serving, right? Or maybe you just want to have some aloe or some tea in your water bottle, right? But if you're playing in a football match or you're going for a really long day of cycling, you want to make sure that you're fueling your body with enough carbohydrates, right? So you can really use more or less depending on the type of exercise that you're doing. Because again, it's about balance, right? But we're not quite done. Like we said, you got to take care of yourself before, during, and after your workout, in addition to having a good quality breakfast every single day. And after training, this is really where we start talking about protein. Okay, this is where protein becomes really, really important. And typically what we suggest is 20 to 40 grams of high quality protein. And this is something that kind of throughout the field of sports nutrition is recognized as the sweet spot after a workout. You want to make sure you're getting at least 20 grams of protein. No real need in terms of building muscle to go past that 40 grams of protein, but having it after your workout, that's really going to be the right time to have your post-workout shake, right? So like we talked about before, your workout starts with your workout isn't finished until you have your post-workout shake, right? So again, no matter your size, no matter your type of activity, you know, a lot of people look at me and they're like, well, you're a pretty small little person. Do you still need 20 grams of protein afterwards? And yeah, that's what is kind of industry throughout sports nutrition. We suggest 20 grams of protein, right? So again, when we look at science and we talk about where these recommendations come from, something like Rebuild Strength has 25 grams of protein combined with carbohydrates. So that combination of protein plus carbohydrates is actually going to be really important. A lot of times people will think I just need protein after my workout, but combination of carbohydrates plus protein is going to be very, very important. Okay, so Rebuild Strength, you know, unfortunately it's not in every country that may be watching right now, but again, that idea of getting 20 grams of protein, so whether it's Formula 1 with PPP or PDM, there's certainly ways to get that 20 grams of protein. That's going to be kind of the goal for after your workout. Okay, so good options. And again, that idea of not separating your nutrition and your exercise is going to be a good way to kind of establish those habits of sports nutrition. So I know that was a lot of information in not a lot of time. So I want to just kind of give you an overview of what we talked about. And again, this is just kind of a template, an idea, something that I put together. Is not something, you know, you have to follow to a T by any stretch of the imagination, but it kind of shows some of the things that we talked about, right? If you're working out in the morning, you want to make sure that you have something pre, during, and post. So maybe you're not going to get up super early before your workout. Having something like CR7 Drive is going to be a great option, followed by your post-workout shake, which is not going to be a meal replacement. Okay, so really important to keep that in mind. Your post-workout shake is not a meal replacement. It's to help you with the exercise that you just did. Protein throughout the day, and then having your multivitamin, again, things like aloe and tea for hydration, all those little things really make a big difference. If you're working out at night, basically the same idea, just making sure that you've got that good quality nutrition around that workout. You've got the CR7 drive, you've got your rebuild strength, so you're getting yourself fueled, hydrated, and helping yourself recover. You can certainly throw in energy as well before your workout. But these are just kind of general ideas so you can see how it all comes together in a day. So that's pretty much all I have for you guys. Thank you again. Muchísimas gracias. It's always an honor and a privilege to be with you guys. You know, and again, if you're thinking like, I just don't know if I'm an athlete, just try different things, find different things, because what's really the most important thing that you can do is move your body. Move your body more, get your heart rate up, start sweating a little bit. These things are really important. And when you do those things and when you find what you love to do, fueling yourself like that athlete that you are. So again, thank you guys all so much. It's always so fun to be with you, and I hope to see you all in person sometime soon. So thank you so much, and Carlos, back to you.
Wow, Dana, was a fantastic information. Muchas, muchas gracias. Estarán de acuerdo conmigo que qué información tan valiosa. Aprendimos del balance nutricional. Se dieron cuenta que Dana habló mucho acerca de la proteína y la combinación con los carbohidratos. La verdad, qué buena información tuvimos este día de hoy, nuestro sábado saludable. Y bueno, qué excelente regalo nos dio la corporación con esta súper invitada del staff médico y científico. Y bueno, quiero terminarles mi historia. Yo comencé por los productos, haciendo unos cambios en mis hábitos nutricionales, en mi alimentación, agregando un poco más, como decía Dana, acerca de actividad física. Llegué a controlar una buena cantidad de kilos y bueno, tener mejor energía, estar como más alerta, como decía Dana en su presentación en los productos. Y bueno, una información increíble. Así que si estás tú ahí invitado, interesado en alguno de los productos, no dudes en contactar a la persona que te invitó a esta charla. No se te olvide, contáctalo y dile qué te interesa exactamente. De nuestra parte y de mi parte ha sido todo por hoy, así que nos vemos en un próximo sábado. Gracias.